Disputes over discs name The Balance, as two manufacturers now are lawyering up. Disc golf back on CBS Sports has some questioning the ROI, and not so much more this week in disc golf. Hello, all you disc-generates. It's me, Swiss Cheese, the one with all the holes in his game, and I'm one half of the disc golf world. The nephew and uncle duo YouTube channel that's giving you all your disc golf news on and off the tour. You're watching This Week in Disc Golf, where I cover all things disc golf from the past week. A real quick thank you to all those on the Patreon page for helping allow us to tour along the pros and contribute to our channel's success. Our Patreon content is continuing to grow, so if you guys want even more behind-the-scenes disc golf world cuts, make sure to join. Now, let's get into some of the possible legal drama surrounding the Simon Line balance. The MV Peeps and Gyronauts have been abuzz, and it's not due to a new Eagle song release. Instead, it revolves around the company's latest news and MVP official statements surrounding a new Axiom-designed Simon Line disc titled The Balance. And unfortunately for MVP, it's less about getting the new plastic in fans' hands and more encompassing the possible future legal dispute or battle with a smaller manufacturer, Essential Discs, who have their own disc that shares the same name. All the drama is certainly inflated with the timing of this announcement within the first week of the disc golf offseason, catapulting this story to the top of the storyline of the week. However, this battle, dispute, disagreement, or however you would like to categorize it, has been developing over months, and also an indicator to the shift of manufacturers' protection of their intellectual properties in a sport that has openly borrowed from others since its inception. And with PDGA's approval process, has many questioning their position on this moving forward also. But let's start from the beginning and place a timeline on the dispute so you viewers can make your own assessments and possible resolutions. MVP has been expanding their Conrad and Simon lines with new disc developments in the works for some time, and whose results we have seen hit the market already. With that, MVP being as business savvy as a younger domain buying Nico LaCastro, they have been filing for trademark names well in advance of their disc release. The Balance and others registered for a trademark on December 13th of 2023. This was also prior to any PDGA approval, yet prototypes and development of the mid-range was in the works. It also needs to be stated that that trademark for the Balance has yet to be approved, but can be seen as still pending with a simple easy search. The delay of approval might be in part due to Essential Discs' filing of 2 extensions to oppose the MVP trademark. Essential Disc, a smaller manufacturer out of Michigan, also submitted a mid-range to the PDGA for approval, also called The Balance, earlier this year, getting that PDGA approval on May 27th, and later released their own first runs that are still available on their site. According to MVP, they noticed that Essential Disc had the Balance approved by the PDGA and reached out to the manufacturer to resolve the situation, which, funny enough, isn't the first time this has happened to Essential Discs either, as they had a similar issue with Clash and their prototype Honey. Damn, I guess Essential Disc is really good at naming discs. Maybe they should take a cue from Nico and MVP and trademark some disc names to sell off later. MVP in their statement presumed Essential Disc did not use the name maliciously and looked to find an amicable solution. Evidently, MVP's amicable and Essential Disc's amicable didn't match, as neither parties budged. As this case has become more interesting and lawyers now being involved on both sides. MVP claims they were the first with its trademark register application in 2023, even though it has not yet been approved, and PDGA's approval only happening just this week. And as far as a timeline, it's difficult to dispute their right to protect its intellectual property. Yet Essential Disc kinda has an argument, with their disc being first to be approved by the PDGA and also on the market, setting an interesting battleground in court of public opinion, only exasperated further by a large conglomerate manufacturer versus the small and mom-pop business, which Essential Discs certainly played into with their statement made later this week, saying their lawyers have directed them not to discuss the dispute while letting the community, who most have never heard of the manufacturer, know that they are a woman-owned company. As a name change for them would certainly hit the small manufacturer financially, but at the very least lost stock, and even more in a possible mold change if the disc were embossed with its name. It's certainly not to say that MVP certainly could face a financial burden themselves also, though with them being as big of a name in the market certainly would be less of an impacted burden. That all being said, what is the point of going through the steps to protect your intellectual property like they have done, if you will not fight to protect it also? MVP moved forward seeking out PDGA approval for their Simon line balance and actually received approval this week on October 28th. Some might be asking why the PDGA would approve 2 discs with the same name. An understandable question when a name does need to be submitted when seeking approval by the PDGA. However, it does state on their page, their review with reference to a name is not binding and they're not refereeing name conflicts. Interesting when you are in large part the sport's governing body. Yet issues like these, which has happened several times in the sport's history with Kiwis, Honeys, and Ronins, just to name a few, has many questioning if PDGA needs to shift practices for approval. Because let's be honest, the PDGA is the centerpiece for approval on every disc for every manufacturer, small or large. And to have such a hands-off approach might have been more understandable back closer to its inception, but certainly no longer in this time and age. In my opinion, PDGA's willingness to fight certain battles while being hands-off in others only further delegitimizes the body. It's silly to think that PDGA enforces its authority on needing their approval on all discs, yet wash their hands on all other aspects. And for everyone outside looking in, it seems odd this governing body approved of 2 mid-range discs from differing manufacturers with the same name in a mere 5 months apart. And though they feel none of this dispute falls on them in the community's eyes, it certainly does. Now, where does this lead or end when it comes to the essential discs and MVP? Steve Abreu, a lawyer with the Sunstein Law, you guys know the trademark shot of the day guys on DGPT coverage, is on with Staggered Stance this week and commented as such.
It's never easy or free to pay your lawyers.
Right.
Lawyers are not free.
Right.
They cost a lot of money, especially IP lawyers, because we're also specialized. If it was just you and you were representing yourself, you could be stubborn and sort of just like tell the other party you're not going to change your mark. But Essential Discs is represented in this case because they've already filed a petition to extend the opposition period of MVP's application. So there is going to be a trademark hearing.
Interesting.
There's something going on at the trademark office with MVP's pending application.
Okay.
So we know for a fact that Essential Discs is represented. So I think what you're getting at is both parties are going to have to figure out what is this fight worth for them.
Right.
And I think that answer is, how much does it cost to change their mold? Like, do they both molds have balance on it? Or how much is it going to cost to change the stamp? And how many existing balances do they have in the inventory that they're going to have to junk or change? Or can they come to agreement that both parties are going to be able to use the mark?
I, like him, believe some type of financial agreement will certainly be reached. But more importantly, for the sport as a whole, hopefully a much needed shift by all manufacturers moving forward to avoid similar issues in the future. But guys, I want to hear from you in the comments below, so make sure to hit that up. This week, I also saw the announcement that disc golf will be featured on CBS Sports yet again. The 4-tournament install will feature the Great Lakes Open, the Green Mountain Championship, MVP Open, and the DGPT Championship. The broadcast started as early as this Halloween, with D-Glow being the first broadcast. Many love to herald any inclusion of the sport on cable as an achievement and a much-needed step to growing the sport, as this will get, quote, more eyes on the sport, presumably. Shouldn't come to most surprise, I'm a little more jaded on these efforts. Now, if CBS has reached out and offered to purchase the rights for the viewership like many in the community believe, then yes, this is a win for the sport's popularity and possible growth. Especially when considering this will be the second year of these type of broadcasts, showing that last year's broadcasts were doing well enough to be featured yet again. However, what we have heard on tour from multiple people, that is simply not the case. That instead, the sport is paying for these time slots. And trust me guys, you don't even want to hear the viewership numbers that have been thrown out there either. Now, despite our efforts to confirm or validate these statements, they've gone unanswered. So we never reported on such. But if valid, simply put, I believe those funds are being misappropriated and could be used in an effort to grow the game in other venues. And even if they are not accurate, no one can argue that a TV model is not what it once was, and with these time offerings could possibly not reach even Jomez's number of viewerships. Add that the product is being shown in the off-season, so even if it were to garner traction, they have little resources to find the sport on television, sports books, and made worse with only post coverage from there, on a season that is already over, and only to hope that they pick up the game back up in February. If we as a sport had that in place while having these broadcasts during the actual season, where people had another sport to possibly bet on, then I could see at least a glimmer of sustained or substantial growth. Though representation certainly matters, this simply feels like a showcase to fill a time slot with the hopes of turning a few people to the sport. Now, let's get to some quick hitters. The offseason started with some very familiar socials. You got the gym rat grind feature always at the start of the offseason. Ella Hansen's barefooted and back at it. Evelina Solinen's doing CrossFit and some of the best Fulton Reed slapshot impressions in all of Sweden during a floor hockey sesh. And look out, Gannon Burr also out there getting that Jack Skellington frame toned up. Others prefer to travel. Some like to hit the beach like Gavin Rathbun and the Estonian disc golf team. Thomas Gilbert hits Australia with them for the World Team Championship. The traditional Disneyland visit for Lucky Lorenzen, or hitting Japan like Ezra Adderhold. And guys, take a look at Ezra, out there looking like a GQ shoot. Even Ezra Robinson felt forced to respond. Others use this offseason to take some sports in. Adam Hammis wouldn't be from Wisconsin if he wasn't chasing a buck or catching a game at a dive bar with dollars on the ceilings. While others like Ricky Wysocki enjoy their sport viewing from the comforts of their theater room or in person like AB. While some take the time to party like Ricky and AB hitting the club together, or other pros who attended the Halloween festival. Cynthia Ricciotti was out there looking like Sonya Blade one day and Pitbull the next. Germ, James Conrad, Paige, of course KJ, and others, because cool kids never sleep, no matter what their age is. Some pros are out there even exploring new career possibilities, like Drew Gibson on his Pro Bass Tour grind. Congratulations to him, by the way, on the golf-themed gender reveal. And if you guys don't know by now, it's going to be a girl, by the way. Wouldn't be a disc golf Halloween without baby Pablo dressed as the goat that's not his pops. I can't tell which is tall Paul Oman in this pick. Emerson, Keith, and family going with the Spider-Man meme and a round on top of that, while Ricky and Caddy Vern going with the Dumb and Dumber costumes. Even the fans get in the mix for the holidays, emulating baskets and their favorite pros. Cat Merch rescues another cat. She's about 2 away from being that Simpsons cat lady. And lastly, here's some pros, giving you the friendly reminder to get your ass out there and vote in this year's election. And guys, that wraps up This Week in Disc Golf. If you've enjoyed and not subscribed, make sure to do so. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and share.
Real fade. That'll work. Oh, did you get a 3? Yeah, 4.